everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Wildcard Sunday, where we look at something a little bit different from our regularly scheduled videos during the week and our regularly scheduled artists. We're looking at a much more modern comic, and the only reason I would do that is for the art, and that is the reason we are here for Wolverine Revenge number 3, fairly recent autumn release. And we're here for the Greg Capullo art, of course. Few things I want to mention here. I do think Greg Capullo's style is a little more clean than what we're used to, maybe if you're looking at back in the day with Spawn and even on Batman, which is a little more detailed, I think, generally. He's kind of cleaned it up a little bit here, but still we've got the awesome angles and layouts that he's known for. And he has often mentioned in interviews that he will adapt and change his style to the series that he's working on too. And I do think part of that look as well is the inking here with Townsend, who does a great job overall. I'm not complaining about the look of the book. It looks great. But I do generally do prefer Jonathan Glapion, I think is his name. Glapion. I think he might be French. I'm not 100% sure. But I like his work on Capullo, and I maybe prefer it between the two. But I will say that Townsend is doing a super awesome job on this as well. So enough about the comic. We'll take a look inside. You'll see Colossus in here. He's kind of the villain, really, of the piece up to this point. And other characters that were involved. Omega Red, Deadpool, Sabretooth last issue, right? So Wolverine Revenge is basically Wolverine, as the title implies, getting his revenge on all these guys who in the beginning are responsible for the death of Captain America. I forget who else was involved in that first issue. Sorry, it escapes me right now. You can go back and look at that. For right now though, we're going to open this one up and have a look inside. First thing I do want to mention, is it as obvious on this first page? Maybe just on the second page. So story-wise, basically Wolverine is hitching a ride on this boat here. If you don't have transit or authorization, you better have gold because your paper money is no good here. And that's how you're going to get on this boat, basically. And Wolverine just kind of walks up and he says, "I'll say this for you. You're a hell of a salesman and you really sold me on the idea. I'll take the ride." And the gentleman with the gun says, "Maybe I wasn't being clear enough." And Wolverine replies, "You were. Now hear me. I do have real business there, of the unfinished kind. So I'm getting on this boat. And if you plan on taking the trip with me, I'd step aside." So, off camera, Wolverine gets his way. And he's on the boat, sitting on a crate here. And all the way back to Russia, we can assume. Or not back to, but that's where he's headed, is Russia. And one thing I want to mention with Greg Capullo here in the art, looking awesome up to this point, but he really respects the continuity in the story here. In the comics, in Marvel, Wolverine is fairly short. So it's kind of shown here where most of the characters in the frame are taller than Wolverine. You can kind of measure that on this when it's kind of a head-on shot or a profile like here. Wolverine's eyes, right? So whether in the background or in the foreground, whoever's, say, the same height as Wolverine, their eyes will line up with his, again, whether they're way in the back or way in the front, right? This is actually something I learned from way back in the day in Wizard magazine when Greg Capullo himself was doing the Wizard basic training. One of them he mentioned is, how do you know how characters in the foreground and the background are either the same height or taller and shorter? That's how you do it. So if you look here, these two characters are about the same height, and this lady here, right? Their eyes, let me try that again. Their eyes all line up. This character here we can assume is a little bit taller than they are because he's in the foreground, but his eyes are higher, about the same height as this guy. So these two guys are just about the same height. And then we get a character here who's actually shorter than Wolverine. And then this Asian girl's just about the same height. And this character here just a little bit taller than Wolverine, even though he's further back in the background. And that's how we can kind of determine that, the line of sight. And that's an old trick. Again, thank you, Greg Capullo. Kudos to you for teaching us young brats back in the day in Wizard magazine some of those tricks, because that's something I've kept and that I've used pretty much my whole life. Anytime I have to draw like a scene with lots of characters, trying to keep the proportions consistent. One thing you'll see throughout this issue, Wolverine stays short, right? Like the proportions are very consistent, as is just the level of drawing and how great it looks. Good use of silhouette here, very economical drawing, right? Good stuff. Not sure about the colors maybe in this scene. I do like the bright on the costume, and I guess they're kind of trying to create that, scary Mother Russia, nuclear nightmare kind of look. Comic is produced by Americans, so I get it. The snow effect that I think maybe is just added in Procreate or Photoshop or whatever. Not sure how well it meshes with the artwork. I mean, the colors overall I do enjoy and like. All the characters, you know, the costumes are pretty bright and the primary colors are fairly saturated, you know, it looks good. Kind of pops, you know. Guess it helps maybe sometimes with its darker background to have those colors pop. Maybe that's the thinking behind it. Maybe it works, seems a little lighter, not quite as much snow texture. Maybe it works a bit better on these pages here. And again, we're reintroduced to Omega Red. I really like the way Capullo does the coil design on Omega Red here, and the in between the coils, right? This kind of red magenta thing here, where there's the contour line is even like a darker red magenta as well. It's a nice trick that you do when you color stuff in comics, and it gives it a glowy kind of effect, which I think looks awesome. I really like that. This whole sequence, though, like just well drawn. Again, Capullo Master just showing you stuff from different points of view and different angles, right? Right now, you're, I guess, where Wolverine was standing a second ago, but, you know, he's kind of being kind of pulled by the feet, by his legs here onto his back, pushed down. And obviously, we're going to have the prerequisite Wolverine Omega Red fight. We've got lots of gore here. Now, I know this issue, do they call it the red label or something like that? Like, you can get these issues with like a higher level of violence and gore and stuff. I'm looking at this here, and this is, I think, pretty sure this is the regular edition. I mean, that's a lot of gore. What would there be more of, you know? Not that I'm against it or I'm having an issue with it, but there's a good level of gore here and blood and, you know, penetration, and what McFarlane, you know, left Marvel for, the Juggernaut getting stabbed in the eye, you know. You've got the exit wound, you've got the entry wound. Like, what do you need more? You know, what could be more gory? I'd like to know if anyone knows exactly the difference between, you know, the red band version or whatever, the red something version and the regular version. Let me know. I mean, I'm fine with the regular version if that's what I got here. I'm pretty sure that it is. Every angle, like just adding the hand here and a bit of the thigh, like that's really quick when you're sketching and drawing and stuff, and it just helps add that sense of depth. Not afraid to overlap elements, right? The fingers over Wolverine there, covering up part of his head. Sometimes when you draw, it's like, oh, I don't want to cover, I put all this work in, whatever. And it's like, you should plan ahead and make sure that it's more important to do these overlaps and stuff and create those different planes and create that depth than it is to, you know, have a clear Wolverine head that looks really nice, right? What looks nice in the sequence here in the storytelling is how effective this panel is and how much more effective it is with this hand in the foreground overlapping Wolverine. So basically what I'm pretty much, yeah, I see here, yeah, storytelling is clear. Capullo's master basically uses his own coil to choke him dead. At least that's what it looks like here. And then I guess as to make sure, leaving him hanging here. So I'm assuming, right, off panel is that Omega Red has been hung with his own coil here. So interesting that it's done off panel. Is that Red Man version, like, or I'll just call it Red Man for now, that Red Man version, you know, show you more of this? Does it actually show you him hanging from the tree or something? Like, if anyone out there knows the difference, please let me know in the comments. Colors in this first panel here are just very weird to me. Like what's going on with the what we're going to find out, it's kind of the nuclear smoke, I guess, coming out at the top here. Haystack, and that's not how nuclear reactors work. So the fact that, as we'll see, there's some sort of radiation being emitted at the top there, it's not exactly how they work. Look it up, but I mean, visually it's cool, I guess. All right, so there's a figure up there, and Wolverine says, yeah, of course. So someone we know, I guess. And I like this little detail here in the art and the storytelling that he does, where, you know, Wolverine's using his claws to climb up, right? And as he gets to the rim here, you know, as he's getting over top, you know, what is that? You're like, what, Wolverine's claws got shorter? No, you can assume that that's, you know, after the last schnicked into the wall, as he's reaching over, the claws are slowly going back into the forearm, and that's what we're seeing there. I think that's a clever little bit, extra bit there in the storytelling that's pretty cool. And of course, we get an awesome splash page here, really well done. Here's somewhere where, you know, I've talked before about how I find Greg Capullo has some affinities art-wise with like Mark Silvestri and Andy Kubert and Adam Kubert as well, the Kubert brothers. Here I would say, you know, here I can see his affinity for John Romita Jr., right? The way these lines are and the form, the way it's constructed with those straight kind of thick lines, very John Romita Jr. to me. And it works very well. So basically this whole sequence here is about Deadpool kind of asking Wolverine for forgiveness, you know. So I won't bore you with all the text and stuff. That's basically what's going on here, you know. Wolverine then says, I'll read this last sequence. Well, I suppose that settles it then. What's that? The argument that people like you and I never pay for our sins, that we just heal and move on. Yeah, no getting past this one, is there? No, I don't think so. Oh, okay. Excuse me. That's not the sequence I wanted to read. Okay. So that's, yeah, a couple of pages to them just kind of talking as old friends, but as enemies as well, right? The old acquaintances, I guess. And Deadpool basically, you know, is saying he's going to kill himself and sorry he blew up his friends. And Wolverine says, hold on. Sorry, I just can't watch you do this. You mean you don't want me to die? I'm saying that this isn't the answer. And as you've noticed throughout the pages, though, as much as it's just kind of a boring conversation between two foes, two friends, whatever you want to call them, you can see them slowly burning away from the radiation, right, coming out of the tower, which is the kind of the fun bit of the whole kind of sequence here. So, oh my God, please tell me that you want us to team up one last time. We could right all the wrongs in an R-rated kind of way. You think you could handle something like that? I took care of Mastermind, Sabretooth, and Omega Red, so you know where I'm headed next, don't you? Yes, and I'm in, baby. Let's get this death metal tour started. Hey, Wade. Yeah? Do you really think someone who's done all the things we've done can be forgiven? Yeah, you know what? I guess I do. And the obvious, and we know it's coming. Wolverine says I don't, and pushes him into atomic fire. Another thing I want to mention, so I don't forget, is obviously I think this whole scene references also the scene in Wolverine Origins, right, where Wolverine fights Deadpool, the crappiest version of Deadpool, atop the nuclear silo. And look at the art here. As great as Capullo is drawing great figure work and detail and lighting and all that stuff, he really knows when to kind of pull back, and here you just got very little. You know, this is probably drawn very quickly. And it conveys exactly what you want it to of Deadpool just burning away there. And this tiny figure of Wolverine took no time at all, but again, just great page. Great sequence, right? So 1 week later, we've got Wolverine digging a grave here. At least that's certainly what it looks like, right? And he says, I know you see me in there, not like I'm trying to hide. So how are we going to do this? You coming out, or you going to make me come in? So who is he talking to, right? Before I turn the page, I do want to mention here the Wolverine hair, right? Again, it's a comic book. It's weird. You know, powers are sometimes defined. Sometimes things change. The fact that Wolverine's hair, anytime it gets burned or cut off or whatever, it just grows back to the same length, right? Really quickly, as quickly basically as he heals. At least it seems like that most times, right? So I don't know if that's ever been explained. Kind of weird, but again, it's a comic book, so yeah, they're kind of weird anyways. So we've got what's going to be the final confrontation between Colossus and Wolverine. I will say again, not quite sure where Colossus is in the continuity right now for Marvel, so you know why he's all of a sudden a villain in the series. You know, a lot of stuff happening in the series. I'll mention more near the end that confused me, and even though I like the story, I'm kind of doubting some stuff. Right, I'm really expecting something about clones, or it was a dream, or that kind of vibe. Because I can't imagine how they killed Captain America at the beginning and these other characters, heroes, and now Wolverine's, you know, plotting his revenge, and he's killed, you know, at this point, Mastermind. He's killed Deadpool. He's killed Sabretooth. He's killed Omega Red. So you can assume he's going to kill Colossus. Spoiler, he will kill Colossus. Capullo, little details, right? Again, the fact that Wolverine's supposed to be like 5'3", and Colossus is super tall, right? 6'7" or something, 6'8". Like, just really well done here. Really well done. And all the way throughout, the proportions will be consistent, right? Kind of looks like short Wolverine in the movie in Deadpool Wolverine recently. So we knew it was going to be inevitable. So we've got a fight between Wolverine and Colossus here. Like this jumping effect, the way the colors added kind of this glowing kind of white effect. Capullo defined it's almost like sonic boom, I guess, when he lands there. Almost like when you apply sonics to sand or something and they kind of fall back in a particular shape. Womp. So great fight sequence. Wolverine eventually slices Colossus through the abdomen here. Colossus grabs him, rips his arm off. So this is a thing here. I saw some people arguing about this online. And again, here's one I think, as much as his powers and these things can change and, aren't so clear-cut. In this case, it's clear-cut in the sense that if you're following just human anatomy, if Wolverine's bones were laced with adamantium, it would be the bones and not the tendons and everything. So, two bones, like your shoulder joint, sits within another joint. I guess you could say, theoretically, he shouldn't be able to pull it out of joint because adamantium is unbendable, unmalleable, and unbreakable or whatever. But, that's what happened here. I guess, any joint can be pulled out, even if it's made out of unbreakable adamantium. And this makes sense. You technically, in a comic book, should be able to rip Wolverine's bones apart because they're not being necessarily held together by the adamantium, right? Only each individual bone is encased in it. But Wolverine still gets the upper hand with his other hand as he schnicks through Colossus's head and grabs this arm and reattaches it, heals back together. Cool little sequence here. And you can assume that grave was dug for Colossus, and there you go. Wolverine's put him in there, filled it up, and added the classic old X cross that the X-Men seem to favor when one of theirs dies in movies and in comics now, I guess. This seems fun, just the fact that Wolverine's got kind of an old white beard, like I do. So, are we to assume that we're going to go into the future, right? Is this like a Wolverine the End or Old Man Logan kind of deal? Guess we're going to find out next issue, and I am looking forward to it, I got to say. This story, to a point, has kind of come to a close. I feel like issue 4 is going to maybe reveal more about these deaths, and if, as I said earlier, I have a hard time believing that they're killing off all these characters for real or for any, lengthy amount of time, and that, there's something more to this story than, what actually happened. Captain America, I don't think, can be dead. Colossus, all these characters dead. There's something more to it. Hopefully it's clever. Hopefully it's not one of these dream sequences or, what if stories or anything like that, but I guess I'll find out. Maybe not in issue 4, but in the next few issues. Not sure how long the series is going. If it's, like a finite series with Capullo, and once he's done drawing, it's over. If it's going to continue, with other artists. I'll probably be buying it at least till Capullo's on it. After that, we'll see. Depending on the artist, I might decide to continue, but I am here for the Greg Capullo art. Not disappointed with issue 3 of Wolverine Revenge on that side. Story is still pretty interesting too, so pretty fun comic overall. Maybe, in the look and stuff harkens back to something a little more classic from back in the day. I don't know how, people who read modern comics kind of see it fitting in that world, but I'm definitely enjoying it for sure. So there you have it. That is my review of Wolverine Revenge issue 3. Those of you who are subscribed and are still watching, thank you. I really appreciate you still being there and checking out the videos. Those who are watching but are not subscribed, please do so below. It doesn't take any time at all for you, and it really helps out the channel, helps get us out there to like-minded people who are into comic books just like we are. So from Big Baby Reviews, thank you for watching, and have an awesome day. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at kingcomics.ca, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.
Like, subscribe.